This is the year that Bill O'Brien could put Boston College back on the map. Coming up on Locked On Boston College, how Bill O'Brien could put Boston College back in the national conversation.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider. I've been covering Boston College for over a decade. If you're looking for news, analysis, and the scoops on your Eagles, this is the right place to be. On Locked On Boston College, you're going to get it all in a free daily Boston College podcast, available 5 days a week on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. On today's show, Greg Brown hits an absolute home run for BC hockey on the recruiting trail. We're going to look at BC football recruiting and why Christopher Vargas of St. John's Prep is an absolute must-get for Bill O'Brien. And we'll kick it off by talking about the 2025 season and how it's a big year for Bill. And if he can deliver, it could be game-changing for Boston College. So let's kick that off. 2025 is here. And if you want the preview of our 2025 season, go back to yesterday's episode where Mitch and I talked about how we have our predictions. I have him at 7-5. He has him at 6-6. And for many of you listening, that isn't going to do it. You know, we've lived for the last 15 years of 6-6, 7-5, and below. You need to get to that 8-win mark. And this year, it has the added difficulty of one of the most difficult schedules in the ACC, only behind Syracuse in terms of what the preseason projections of difficulty is going to be. You're playing 3 playoff teams from last year. That's not an easy pull for BC. But if BC can play clean football, if they can win some of these 50-50 games like Georgia Tech, maybe even Louisville, or SMU, Syracuse, you win some of those games, you add in a strong September, you're looking at what could be a very special season for Boston College if they can do what they're saying they're going to do. This needs to be a big year for Boston College. And Bill has a schedule that I think good coaching can win. Yes, I said on yesterday's show, I don't think they have much of a chance against Dabo Swinney and Clemson. I also think they have much of a chance against Notre Dame. You're going against too many, stallions, too many bullets in the chamber for a team like Boston College to overcome. But I look at the rest of that schedule, and I think to myself, if special teams can get better, if you can show your coaching and game plans are better than some other coaches can be, you can win more than you are expected to win. Look, I have nothing against Pat Narduzzi at Pitt, but if you were to ask me who is a better coach, I will take Bill O'Brien over Pat Narduzzi every day. And don't ask me about Fran Brown at Syracuse. Look, that dude got Kyle McCord in a bottle. I think BC can still beat them. So that begs the big question here. Does Bill O'Brien have enough on his roster to win more than 7 games? And I think he does. I really do. I think Dylan Lonergan is better than Thomas Castellanos. I think we'll see him get better than Grayson James. And I think he could turn into one of the better quarterbacks Boston College has had in recent memory. And you get him for 3 years. But he's going to be tossed into the fire pretty quickly. That being said, it's not really too quick because you start off with a bad Fordham team. Michigan State you could beat. I don't think their defense is all that scary. Same thing with Stanford. Same thing with Cal. That's a good start to your season. That could get his feet wet. That could help you win football games. I look at the rest of this program, and this brings the question about something Bill has said over and over again. Boston College is a developmental program. And watching at practice, he's absolutely right. I've mentioned numerous names that have gone from, who's that guy? Where is he? To, oh, wow, Michael Crowns is really looking good out there. Or Pape Sai's looking good. Or, Edwin Kalengi's playing better. That piece right there has been the missing link from Jeff Hafley, Steve Adazio to Bill O'Brien. If Bill O'Brien has brought the right staff on board to develop these guys to get them to that next level, that is where they're going to win football games. When you see Edwin Kalengi jump out, you weren't expecting this kid to do anything. And he may end up with 5-6 sacks. That right there is coaching. That right there is development. And that is how BC is going to win football games. And again, even against a tough schedule. Because remember, when you look at the teams Boston College they're playing this year, look at what, they have done. Louisville only won because Thomas Castellanos just absolutely imploded in that second half. You beat Pitt. Cal's bad. Stanford's bad. You look at SMU, they barely beat you on the road. This is where good coaching is going to pay dividends. Okay? I have said I believe that Bill O'Brien's style and what he brings to Boston College is exactly what BC needs. If he wins 8 games, think of how that's going to propel Boston College in the future. They could, that's going to open up doors to transfer portals. Donors are going to start to pony up. People are going to pay attention again. Okay, you're not going to become one of the, most talked about teams in Boston. That's not realistic until you become a top 10 team. But those donors that got turned off by Hafley, that got turned off by Adazio and Spaziani, they're going to come back. And when they're paying those, they're putting money into NIL coffers, you can go out there and fill your holes for next year. And you can build and build and build. So this is a critical year for Bill O'Brien. And I said 7-5 yesterday, but what happens if they go 8-4? Look at what Syracuse got with Fran Brown last year. They, regardless of who they have or who they didn't have, they won 10 games. You can't take that away from them. If you got that, think of what would happen if Bill O'Brien won 10 games this year. The buzz, the vibe around Boston College would be electric. So I see this year, and I say to myself, yeah, realistically, this is where I see them. But I also see that this is the same Bill O'Brien that took a almost death penalty Penn State team to 8 wins. He can do that. He can against the Big Ten. He could do that again with BC. He did that with Matt McGloin, who was nothing. Can he do that with Dylan Larnigan? I think he can. Now, in a moment, if they win these types of games, it may open the door on the transfer portal and in recruiting. I'm going to talk about one recruit in 2 years that is an absolute must get for BC. I'll explain who that is in just a moment. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling it your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before Week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Mitch told me yesterday on yesterday's show that there's great odds for the Patriots to win 9.5 games. I think it was plus 175, and that was his go-to. I like it. I was going for AFC East champions. That's an even safer bet. So visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. Maybe you want an MVP race. Do you think that Saquon Barkley's going to win? Or Josh Allen? You can get it all. I'm going with Lamar Jackson, but you know how I feel about that. Because Futures Days is one day and one day only. With FanDuel, play your game. Locked on Boston College, AJ Black here, and we're talking about success at Boston College. If they were to find that next level, to get to 8 wins, to get to some decent bowl, maybe it's the Pop-Tart Bowl. My God, to watch Bill O'Brien eating a Pop-Tart, the giant humanoid Pop-Tart, would be absolutely amazing. But realistically, 8 wins, would bring out some other things, which would be success on the recruiting trail. And there's no bigger name for Boston College than Christopher Vargas, a quarterback at St. John's Prep in Massachusetts. Now, he goes to the same high school that Bill O'Brien went to. He is coached by Brian St. Pierre, one of the obviously a very famous Boston College quarterback. So the pipeline is there. Can Boston College land him? Right now, he is ranked number 11 in the class of 2028. He's the number 2 quarterback in the entire country. Everybody and anyone is going to offer Christopher Vargas because right now he has offers from Penn State, Rutgers, Syracuse, and I think like Auburn. But remember, the class of 2028 has another year or so before people actually really start tuning into that. So I look at this and I think, in a year, 2 years, you're going to have Alabama offering. You're going to have Ohio State offering. You're going to have USC offering, Georgia offering. The Blue Bloods are going to come. Can Boston College shake the shackles of, previous regimes and land an elite quarterback? Now, I'm not saying this is going to be easy. I'm not even saying this is realistic. But there's some things that could happen that could make this process better for Boston College and increase that options. The first thing that I think that you really need to watch for is winning. As much as you love to see a hometown kid stay local, having a 7-5 or 6-6 team, no matter what you do, is not going to make yourself very attractive over a school like Florida, who, may win 10 games this year, or Alabama, who has 400 million, national championships under their belt. That's got to change. BC needs those 8 wins, those 9 wins to show a kid like Christopher Vargas, hey, Boston College is a team on the up. You can play for an NFL quarterbacks coach like Bill O'Brien and win some of those big games because he's going to show you how to do it. That's one big piece. You got to win. You have 2 years to do it. You have 26 and 27 before his year comes up. He's only going to be a sophomore this year. So you have some time, but you got to start winning now. The other big piece that's going to come up, and everyone's going to bring it up, NIL. How are you going to pay him? Because Christopher Vargas is going to get mucho dinero wherever he goes. Believe me, if he doesn't end up at Boston College, he's going to get 7 figures from Ohio State or Alabama. They're going to pay him. How can you keep up with that? So there's 2 big things here. The winning that I mentioned in the first segment will bring in money. If you can bring in money, you can pay him. I know BC is kind of hedging on this, but let me tell you something. Bill O'Brien says he doesn't want to pay a kid too much to come here. When you have a program-changing quarterback recruit like Chris Vargas that might want to come here, you pay him. I don't care what your system is. You figure out how to get him here because good quarterbacks, and Bill O'Brien knows this, are going to win you football games. So, you're going to need to get that NIL money up. You're going to have to figure that out. And I go back to that first segment, winning will do that. You get a good team together, fans will want to, and donors will want a guy like Chris Vargas to come here, but you got to show them that BC can take that step. So that is another big piece. The third big piece is going to be institutional support.
Father Lee, he's done what he's done. I'm not here to bash a priest. That's not my job. I will say that I believe that Father Jack Butler will increase everything around Boston College. I really do believe that he sees BC and sees how they're falling behind, and he will change that. So getting more money into coaching positions, getting more money into the stadium, doing all those things, you have to put together the complete package to get a recruit like Christopher Vargas. Because if BC, as they are now, is really going to put a serious push for Christopher Vargas, it's going to make it really hard with the way things are right now. You have to change it. You have to change the narrative. You have to change how much people see BC as just this afterthought. Because I'm telling you, BC is going to have a hard time with a recruit like Vargas. It's not going to, and I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're going, he's not going to end up here. The number 11 recruit in the country, that's never going to happen. But if the other pieces go into place, hey, maybe things will change. Now, think about where your quarterback would go if BC lands Christopher Vargas. Just think of where things are at right now. You have next year 2 quarterbacks. You have DJ Bordeaux, who, let me tell you, threw for, 5 touchdowns and ran for another. Really showed up for his first game. Femi Babalola also came back and helped BC, his team, Ravenwood, throw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. So get 2 quarterbacks coming next year. Go with Shaker Reisig. You add in Christopher Vargas. If you could find a way to add Christopher Vargas, your quarterback room is stacked. So, again, I am not saying that I think this is going to happen, but there's a lot of time between now and then. And I also forgot to mention one other piece could go into that. What about New Balance?
Their owner is a Boston College grad. They have connections, obviously, with their apparel affiliate. They have not been able to get a Boston College athlete as a New Balance athlete. Maybe Christopher Vargas is that guy. I mentioned the same thing with Carter Gooden last year. Didn't work. But if you win, you have more money, you can do this. What if Vargas becomes your first New Balance athlete? A quarterback. That's perfect. That's a perfect opportunity. A 5-star local recruit that you can make some New Balance money with. You got to add that in, though, with the NIL. You can't just do New Balance. It's just not enough. So Christopher Vargas, he's looking right now. Auburn just offered. He's going to come to BC, it sounds like, for a visit this fall. You got to make it look good. Maybe he comes for Clemson or Notre Dame. That would be a good one to watch. And if BC shows up, hey, maybe it's a good impression on a very, very valuable quarterback recruit. We have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered at a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out. Moment. Greg Brown, Boston College hockey head coach, hits an absolute home run and lands a blue chip 5-star recruit. I'll explain who that is in just a moment. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them, but if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Ready. Rougiette Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rougiette's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and stays on fast. On average, in 15 minutes, effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and can control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Rougiette might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. I love that it's completely online. Rougiette connects you with a board-certified doctor and ships your treatment discreetly to your door. You can even read real customer reviews on their site. It's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present in the moment. Head to rougiette.com/lockedoncollege and use code LOCKEDONCollege for 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/lockedoncollege and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for 15% off. Individuals may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effective, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougiette website for full safety information. Locked On Boston College, AJ Black here, and I want to thank all our first listeners who listen to Locked On Boston College first every morning. You have been listening, you have been valuable in our growth, and I want to thank each and every one of you. Now, I don't get into hockey a lot, but when I do, it's important. And today is an important discussion because Greg Brown has been under a lot of scrutiny for his recruiting lately. This class of 2009, I think they call it, for kids that are born in 2009, has been tough. They have not landed many of the recruits they've been going for. But when I say it changed on Sunday, it didn't just change. It was a seismic shift for Boston College. And this is exactly the news that BC needed. As they landed the number 1 recruit in the class of 2009. This is Rocco Pelosi, who is, a recruit that had, I believe, 127. Geez, my God, my numbers are all over the place. 120 points last season. Just an absolute mammoth recruit for BC. And he won't be here for 2 years. But think about this. He played for Mount St. Charles Academy in Rhode Island. He logged over 300 points in 2 seasons for them in their post-COVID era year. He's part of their U.S. developmental team. He is the number 1 recruit in the country of the United States. I can't explain how big of a recruit this is for Boston College. This goes up there, with your Vocis and your Johnny Gaudreaus, because you needed a star player and you got a goal scorer and someone who is absolutely elite. So all this talk about other programs that are getting better and BC not just went out the window because you got a game-changing player. He's not going to be here for 2 years. That's tough, but you landed him. In the age of NIL and where things have changed since the Jerry York years, BC still went out there and did what they needed to do. This was a huge home run for Greg Brown. This shows you that BC is still a blue chip school. It's not falling apart because NIL is, or revenue sharing is going to change everything for BC hockey. It's still the exact same way. And BC is going to get to that next level. Now, he's landed a few other recruits, Teddy Mutrin, and there's a few others coming in the next year or so. But you're seeing them build. And this is where BC needs to go. Now, basketball, on the other hand, I don't have much to talk about for basketball. They have a couple 4-stars coming for visits. We have those all up on Eagle Insider. But I saw Earl Grant at practice last week. And I was like, I almost want to be like, hey, I'm the guy that asked you to get fired. But I didn't do that. So recruiting is going on. We're almost to basketball and hockey season, but we're here at football season. Later this week, we'll have Mitch Wolf on to give his predictions for the Fordham game. I saw some folks saying that they're worried about Fordham. I don't understand why. I mean, if BC struggles with Fordham, you're looking at an 0-12 season. Really. Just to be frank. So I don't think that's going to happen. Make sure, if you haven't done so already, follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. Check me out on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky. I'm available everywhere. You can find me. Find Eagle Insider. Find Locked On BC. And I'm sorry, I have like allergies, so my nose has been really itchy. So if you see me scratch my nose, I'm sorry. I just can't get it. I can't get out of that. But thank you all for listening. We'll be back again tomorrow. We don't have the depth chart, but it should be out tomorrow afternoon. I'll give you my thoughts on that. We'll get ourselves ready, and we're going to be really cranking for this season. I'm really excited to share with you. Thank you all for following Locked On Boston College, your team every day.